Hello, back again to do another unboxing and review. We're going to go ahead and continue my Beyblade Burst related videos with a whole new box set. But wait, this isn't just any new box set, this is Beyblade Burst Evolution. Now, with the term evolution being thrown around like mad lately with anime and games, we're going to see if this is truly an evolution of Beyblade or if it's just the next in the series. Alright, so at this point I usually take a look around the box. I do that because I think it's interesting from like a retail point of view. However, this box actually does have quite a bit of information, and it's really important because with the whole, an evolution of the series, you want your customer to be able to know, is this worth buying? Is this anything really new? And I think they do a good job covering that, so let's go into it. First of all, the box, from a distance, very obvious. I could see this from aisles away, which of course has an advantage. At the same time, it conveys a lot of motion. We can see here the scene with the two tops battling, and even though there's a lot going on, it's actually very clear, and that isn't easy to do, so credit to them for that. Moving on, where we can see here, here we have, alright, it shows these two guys battling it out with their tops. Then we have the picture of the new launchers, and that's going to be important. We'll come back to that in a sec. And then they show the two new tops you will be getting. And they have them on the side here all as well. You can see you got the Genesis Valtryek V3 and the Saturn S3 over here on this side. They're showing you some of the other tops you can get. And we have a Wyvern W3, a Roque Devore R3, what's that? Fafnir F3. Correct me in the comments if I said that wrong. All right, and you might be noticing 3, 3, 3, 3. Yes, that's another thing that's come with Beyblade Burst. Among all the other things, Evolution. That's another thing among all the other stuff we're going to cover in a sec that Evolution brought us, the level 3 tops. Okay, now on the back. I was talking about all that information, and look at all the info they give you here, but yet it's still easy to see. So we have the Valtryek V3 broken down by layer, and it gives us the power levels right down there. Of course, they do the same for the Saturn S3, and of course the related power levels. And then in the middle, we have the Switch Strike, which you might have seen on the front, which was quite obvious over there. So what is Switch Strike? And I like how they do this. They kind of bring it in with your eyes into the center by tracing this in red. So looking here at the Switch Strike, you can see it has something to do with the tips switching. And it appears that there's these little bumpers that when they get hit, it causes the tip to retract and hence changes the movement profile of your top. Really cool, actually. And then they also highlight some of the physical features that each top has, and so not just their power levels, but you can see like this one here seems to have these little spinning wheels on the side. Cool. And this guy here of course has a spinning blade attack. Well, what would you expect from a Valtryek, right? So I'm already interested in the tops. I'm interested in the Switch Strike feature. And again, they don't highlight it as much here, but those launchers are offering something new, and we're going to see that once we open it up. Okay, open the top. It's secured by 2 pieces of tape. Alright, so there we have the arena, and they're using it as a tray, which only makes sense to hold all the contents. Nothing else in the box. Alright, well, that worked out quite well. It holds all your, I'm assuming, tops, launchers, and probably assembly hardware in this little sleeve of cardboard here. And it seems like it was pretty good packing. None of the bits came loose, and none of the stuff was rattling within the tray. Also, that's a very important element to the presentation of your item. Rattling things in the box usually is not a good sign, and customers usually don't like that. So containing it in here is actually a little more important than you may first think. Alright, so we have the lid. which has this cool see-through transparency. You have your instructions right here laying in the center. Can't say you didn't see them, so don't say you didn't know how to put it together. And alright, then I guess the bottom of the arena. Okay. So, assembly looks like it'll be relatively straightforward, but we'll just take a quick look at the assembly. So, it looks like we have some pins to hold it together. It's a one-time snap setup, so evidently you don't have to put it together every time. And alright, so there appears to be this little thing down here. I'll have to see what this is, but there seems to only be one of those. Oh, I see why. If you notice, if you don't put anything on the tray, you see how it tilts. So there's a special leg to level it out. Alright, and then on the back, it gives you some instructions on how to go ahead and play with it. Alright, let's look at what's in the little sleeve here. Alright, there we go. So we have the Valtryek there, the Satum over there. Oh, cool. So they come in these little segmented bags with everything you'll need to put together. So, ooh. Hey, look at that. That's another new thing with the level 3 tops. We have multi-layered forge disc. Up until now it was just the metal, but now it seems there's like an extra little extension of plastic around the metal. So yeah, alright. And then ooh, look at that beefy tip. And we can tell there's a lot going on in there. So that's the quick look at the Valtryek V3. Here's the Satum in the same cool kind of packaging there. Alright. Now, here's that leg to level out the arena and the pins to keep it together. But let's get to these. The new launcher. Now, earlier in the video I said I'd get back to this and why this was important. And perhaps you can see right there, kind of a big hint, R and L. So, apparently you can spin this left spin, right spin, or clockwise, counterclockwise. So I'm going to go ahead and try it. So we'll try the R. Have it in the R. Okay, so there we go. That for you is counterclockwise. Now if I do the same thing and put it in the L, there we go. And that's clockwise rotation. Cool. So we're going to get back to this, but this is a feature I've been waiting for a long time with these tops. Of course, you do get two of them. Also the cords. Yeah, I like this. You see how this kind of, well, it's a really nice ring, but it's also nice and thick. So when you pull on it, you actually feel like you're pulling, and you don't have that little T handle. This feels a lot better. The ripcord has come to me in straight condition. That's another thing I like about buying things in the bigger box, Beyblade related, because they don't crumple and bend up your ripcords. So, all right. So I'm going to go ahead and put this together, and we'll take. All right. So I just got the arena put together. It was pretty straightforward. You just got to remember to put this thing in first, and then do the lid second. Now, coming to this, you notice there's only one of those legs, and that's because if you notice, this corner does not have a pit, where the other three corners do. So it's kind of a, I don't know why they didn't go with symmetry and have 4 pits, one in each corner. Maybe that'll become a little more evident when I actually start using it. But anyway, that's the one thing I noticed about that. But overall, I think the arena looks really cool. This green and yellow work well together. And so, yeah. Alright, so let's take an up-close look at each of the tops. So here I have the Satum S3 put together. And I'm loving the coloring, black and purple, with some blue highlights and these little red on the wheels. Alright, so let's look at the features. Starting with the energy layer here. its special feature are these little red roller wheels, and it has 3 of them. 1, 2, 3. And so the purpose of these, as you might be able to guess, is it allows it to roll off. So I guess in a way deflect the attack. Instead of absorbing it, just shrug it off or roll it off. Alright, cool. And in case you're wondering, these do still come with a QR code in the middle, so if you're scanning to get those unlockable things in the app, I believe, that's still a possibility. Okay, now let's go to the Forge disc, and yes, the Forge disc does have that extra layer. Now, to my surprise, it actually can even come off. So there you go, allowing for even more customization. So, and you can see it has kind of like a little shelf there. So you go ahead and put it back together by putting the Forge disc in the little layer and turn. So, there you go. All right. One other thing I was just thinking about when I was putting this together and taking it apart, if nothing else, these I don't know, we'll call them extra bumpers on the Forge disc, probably do serve to protect your top. Might even last longer because if these absorb any of the impacts. I'm not sure, but just something I thought about. Okay, getting to the performance tip here, and now in this box set we have 2 different types of performance tip. Of course, they're 2 different tops, so they're going to have different styles. But what I mean beyond that is they have different mechanics. So as where the Valtryek V3, which we're going to get to, has a tip that changes, this one instead forgoes that changing ability to add these little roller wheels on the bottom. And you can see how they're angled. Now, if you take the consideration the arena has a bold surface, right? So imagine my fingers like the surface of the arena, and it kind of bowls up like that. You can see how this causes those little wheels to touch the floor of the arena. And of course, this is for stability. Think of them like little training wheels. But what's better about them being wheels as opposed to just like little pegs is that when they do touch the arena floor, they don't cause any drag, which would cause the top to tip over. Instead, it just rolls. So there you go. So support without too much resistance for the added support. So that's a really clever adaptation. And you got that nice wide tip at there. So, all right. So cool. Now let's move over to the Valtryek V3. I believe he's even called the Genesis Valtryek V3. Ooh, his name got extra cool. All right. So here we are, and of course this very Valtryek energy layer. Look at that. I do like it. Actually, I don't know if it's coming up on camera, but it's mainly transparent, so it really has this kind of wind energy, whatever you want to. But yeah, I think it conveys that quite well. And of course, you have a lot of V's because, of course. All right, so let's go ahead and take this Genesis Valtryek V3 apart and look at the layers. So, as you can, I was pointed to on the box, it said spring blades. Well, that's and here's the reason why they say that, because they actually do have this little spring. I'm trying to activate it here while holding the top. It's kind of tricky, but here we go. Yeah, so I don't know if it came up, but you can see there we go. So yeah, these do have a spring, and then release, they pop out. So of course that'll be a lot cooler when it's spinning really fast, but yeah. Okay, and yes, there's that QR code. All right, now to the Forge disc, which yes also has this little removable bumper. There you go. So yeah, you see it turns and you match up those things and you can remove it. Okay, so all right, now let's look at the just Forge disc just on its own without the bumper. Okay, so it's pretty much circular. I mean, there's no huge protrusions, so it's overall a circle. We do have little ridges there, you can see. And yeah, so okay. And put this back together. Oh, you know what? Let's do this right now. Let's see if we can mix the bumpers from the forged discs, so I don't want to get mixed up. So that's that. So here's the one from the Saturn, and here's the Valtryek V3's forged disc. Alright, do they work? Oh, look at that. It does work. Okay, mix and match these little transparent bumper deals. Alright, so let's make Valtryek V3 pure again by putting on his flamey red bumper. Okay, now let's get to the tip. Now this is it's a funny story about this. Anyways, I'll get into it. So first let's just look at it. So here we go, and yep, and then here is that by pulling these out. So you can see how that protrudes. Alright, so now what's the funny story about this? Okay. So the whole time, because I was judging by the box, right? So remember the box here, they had that little picture where it says, okay, so it starts out with the thing out, and then during battle, it switches and goes in flat. So, with that being the case, I was sitting here trying to get this thing to stay out the tip. So I was like, okay, pull it out and then release. Then it dropped back down. I'm like, well, okay. So then I was trying to push these out like extra far, thinking they would like lock, and it wasn't happening. And at the point I thought I might start to break it, I stopped and I figured, well, let me just try spinning it in the arena. So evidently what happens is it's not supposed to stay out like this, where you set it like a trigger and then it goes spinning, and then when it gets hit, it snaps in like I originally thought. But instead, when this top is spinning, centrifugal force causes these to basically protrude out, the wings here, the things I'm using my thumbnails on, and then as it loses momentum, they go back in, and then it changes the tip profile. So don't go ahead and try to lock these out by cramming them out, and because you might end up, yeah. So anyway, quick tip. And by the way, the instructions didn't tell me that. Now, perhaps they thought I'd just go ahead and throw it in the arena and start spinning, and then I would see it, you know. But yeah, I think it would have been nice for them to at least point that out, that you don't have to do this. It'll do it on its own. Okay. Alright, so that takes care of the two tops. Alright, so I'm getting ready to do the battle here, but before we get to that, there's something we have to cover regarding the launchers. Now, I've already talked about how you can do left spin, right spin. However, you can't just decide, I'm going to take this top and make this a left spin top. That won't work. So, each top has a designation. So here we see this little symbol standing for right spin, or I guess you could say clockwise. Also with the Valtryek V3, it's also a clockwise spinner. So this launcher is designed so should you happen to have a left spin top, you could use the same launcher. You don't have to carry two launchers in your pocket. Alright, just for the record, I have actually tried to go ahead and use the Valtryek V3 and the Saturn S3 as left spin by basically just putting the ripcord in and saying whatever and going for it. Well, they just basically fall out, so that doesn't work. So, that being said, I still think the left spin, right spin is a much needed element for Beyblade. It would have been nice if these tops had been either or, but again, that I'm sure they're designed to spin a certain direction, so I guess that kind of makes sense. But anyway, still a cool feature. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get to the, but before we do the battle, let's go ahead and look at the Valtryek V3's spinning movement as his tip changes. So I'm going to drop him in just on his own, and we'll go ahead and see that tip transformation in action. So here we go. Alright, and there you go. That was pretty obvious when that transformation occurred, and it even sounded different. Okay, so now let's get to what we pretty much all have been waiting for, the actual showdown. We have two right spin tops. I'm going to go ahead and drop the Saturn S3, since it is in fact a defensive top. I'll put it in its favorite position, which is dead center. And we'll have Valtryek V3 attacking from the outside. For that reason, Saturn S3 will go first. And here we go. Alright, so Sutom S3 gets a point for outlasting. Okay, round 2, same setup. Alright, not by much, but Sutom S3 got a second point for outlasting, although that was pretty good. We got some tops going up on the corner, which, by the way, interesting to note, that was the corner that does not have the pit. Otherwise, that result might have been a bit different. Interesting to note, both tops there were about halfway to burst. Can tell by see these little protrusions that stick up. This one was halfway over to the burst point, which is over here. Alright, round 3. Okay, well, once again, Sutom S3. Okay, so from that battle, it should be quite clear that the Valtryek V3 is a good attack top. It came in from all different angles, and then switched up its tip, and then came in again in a different attack pattern. So it did a great job, and you can just hear it was a ting, 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 so it was making all kinds of hits. And that's a good segue into the Sutom's S3's great defense. It was shrugging off all those hits, one after another, no problem, it just stayed in the middle. And the most peril it ever got put in was when it got pushed up into the corner, but luckily for the Sutom S3, that was the one corner that was not a pit. So it just rolled right back into the center of the arena and does what it does, holds its ground. So, yeah, great defensive top, good offensive top, so I wasn't surprised, actually, of the outcome there. Okay, now let's get into what I think about this particular box kit. I think it's actually a good starter kit. I mean, it gives you everything you need, as you'd expect from a starter kit, but I think it gives you enough flavor for what this new line of Beyblade Burst tops is going to be about, and it's also a good way of introducing the third tier tops, so the ones above the V2s or the S2s or the L2s, the I2s, or whatever, you get the point. So I think it was a good strategy to bring in the third tops with the new line, the Evolution line. Now, since I just said Evolution, let's get into what I think about this as far as fitting into the Beyblade Burst universe, and I'm limiting that to the toys. I'm not talking about the cartoon here. So I think the term evolution, it makes sense, because again, we are getting newer and improved tops with more features. As far as it being like a huge game changer, is it going to change the way you look at Beyblade? Is it going to do something incredibly different? Well, no. But it is still obviously an evolution, because they have gotten better, more features, and so, yeah. Now, one thing I would have liked, I think would have been slightly better with this starter kit, is if they gave us a left spin top against the right spin top. Now, keep in mind, I haven't done that scenario yet, so I don't know if that might not be more exciting, or it might not, I don't know. But I think that would have really given us all sides, you know, left spin, right spin, attack, defense, everything, you get it, opposing strategies. So, but I will be getting some left spin tops, because I definitely want to do those matchups. So I guess that I'm anxious to go get more tops and do all the different combinations and collect these tops, because these are actually pretty good looking tops. I mean, and with these new features like these little rolling wheels, I'm interested to see what the next top I get, what its cool feature will be. Will they have more sliding blades? Will they have things that spring out in the mid-battle like little arms? And I don't know. But see, I'm interested in looking at the rest of the product line, so I guess that means this is a success.